Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a truth that has shaped every great life and every lasting achievement. Success is not something handed to you by chance, luck, or sympathy. Success is something you earn. It is the reward for a definite purpose backed by faith and carried forward through persistent action. Most people wait. They wait for the right moment, the right connection, the right opportunity. But success does not respond to waiting. It responds to decision. The moment you decide clearly what you want and refuse to accept anything less, you step onto the path of earning success. A wandering mind creates a wandering life. A focused mind creates results. Success begins with a clear decision and a definite purpose, because a life without direction moves in circles while a life with direction moves forward. The moment a person decides exactly what they want, the mind shifts from confusion to command. A vague wish creates weak effort, but a precise decision creates power. When purpose is clearly defined, every thought starts organizing itself around that purpose, and every action gains meaning. The person who knows where they are going no longer wastes energy on paths that lead nowhere. They measure their choices against their goal and learn to say no to distractions that do not serve it. This decision is not casual or temporary. It is a commitment made in the inner world before it ever appears in the outer world. Most people drift because they have never taken the time to choose, and drifting feels safe because it demands nothing. Decision demands responsibility, and responsibility demands courage. A definite purpose becomes the anchor of the will. It gives the mind a target, and a target gives the will a reason to persist. Without purpose, effort is scattered. With purpose, effort becomes concentrated. Concentrated effort is what separates motion from progress. A person may be busy all day and still move nowhere, but a person with purpose can move forward with a single focused action. Decision also awakens belief, because belief grows where clarity exists. When the mind is uncertain, doubt speaks loudly. When the mind is certain, doubt loses its voice. Purpose shapes identity, and identity shapes behavior. The individual who decides to become something greater begins to act in harmony with that decision. They read differently, listen differently, and associate differently because their aim has changed. Purpose is the bridge between imagination and reality. It turns ideas into intentions and intentions into plans. A clear decision transforms hope into direction and direction into discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is alignment with purpose. Each disciplined act is a small declaration that the goal matters more than comfort. A person with purpose does not wait for perfect conditions because their decision has already created urgency. They understand that clarity today is better than perfection tomorrow. Purpose also trains the mind to see opportunity where others see confusion. When you know what you want, you recognize the tools that can help you reach it. People, books, experiences, and even setbacks begin to appear useful rather than random. Decision sharpens perception. It filters reality through the lens of intention. Instead of reacting to life, the purposeful person responds to it with design. Their days are guided by meaning instead of mood. They rise with a reason and rest with a direction. Purpose gives shape to time, turning hours into steps and steps into progress. The inner command to achieve comes from the moment of choice, when a person declares to themselves that they will no longer drift. That declaration becomes a law of the mind. The law demands consistency, and consistency produces momentum. Momentum changes self-image, and self-image changes destiny. A definite purpose is not just a goal. It is a statement of self-respect. It says that life will be lived intentionally rather than accidentally. The power of a clear decision is that it makes success possible by making effort meaningful. Where there is no purpose, there is no reason to endure difficulty, but where purpose is strong, difficulty becomes part of the journey. The decision to aim high creates the strength to endure the climb. Purpose does not remove struggle, but it gives struggle value. It tells the mind that pain is temporary and direction is permanent. Through this understanding, the will is trained to hold steady, and the mind is trained to obey the chosen path. Strong desire is the fire that awakens the sleeping powers of the mind, but fire alone does not move a machine unless it is connected to motion. Desire must be translated into action, or it remains only a pleasant feeling with no power to produce results. Many people dream, but few desire with intensity, and fewer still act with consistency. A wish is passive, but desire is active. It pushes the individual beyond excuses and pulls them away from comfort. When desire is clear and strong, it refuses to accept delay as defeat. It searches for ways instead of reasons. Action gives desire a body. It turns invisible intention into visible effort. Each small step taken in the direction of a goal strengthens belief and weakens doubt. The mind begins to say this is possible because the body is proving it through movement. Desire without action breeds frustration, but action guided by desire builds confidence. Confidence grows from doing, not from thinking alone. When a person takes repeated action toward a goal, the subconscious mind accepts the goal as something real and achievable. This acceptance shapes habits, and habits shape outcomes. Strong desire also sharpens focus. It teaches the mind to concentrate on one purpose instead of scattering energy across many distractions. Focused desire simplifies life because it makes priorities obvious. Time is no longer wasted on activities that do not serve the main aim. Energy is directed where it produces progress. Action taken under the influence of desire becomes disciplined rather than forced. It feels meaningful because it serves a chosen purpose. Even when results are slow, desire sustains effort because it reminds the mind why the struggle began. Every achievement in history began as a desire held long enough and acted upon consistently. The difference between those who reach their dreams and those who talk about them is not talent alone, but the willingness to act when comfort suggests rest. Desire challenges fear. When the want for success becomes stronger than the fear of failure, action becomes natural. The person no longer waits for confidence, they build confidence through movement. Action also educates the mind. Each attempt reveals something new about what works and what does not. Mistakes become instructions instead of disappointments. Desire keeps the learner patient, and action keeps the learner growing. Together, they form a partnership that transforms imagination into reality. Desire gives direction, and action gives proof. One without the other creates imbalance. Action without desire becomes mechanical and weak. Desire without action becomes emotional and empty. But when they unite, they create momentum. Momentum changes self-perception. The individual begins to see themselves as someone who moves forward instead of someone who waits. This new identity attracts new opportunities because people respond to visible effort. The world trusts those who trust their own purpose enough to act. On it, strong desire also fuels persistence. When obstacles appear, desire reminds the mind that the goal is worth the price. Action then becomes a response to resistance instead of a retreat from it. Each step forward in difficulty strengthens the inner belief that progress is possible. Over time, repeated action under the guidance of desire builds a chain of habits, and habits become character. Character determines the level of success a person can sustain. Dreams are fragile when they exist only in thought, but they become durable when they are supported by daily effort. Desire lights the path, and action builds the road. The union of the two is what transforms hope into achievement and vision into reality. Obstacles and failures appear on every path that leads to achievement, and their presence is not a signal to retreat, but an invitation to grow stronger. The mind often interprets difficulty as danger, yet difficulty is simply the language through which life measures determination. When resistance shows up, it reveals how serious the intention truly is. Easy progress requires little character, but tested progress demands inner development. Each obstacle carries within it the question, will you continue or will you surrender? The person who treats obstacles as stop signs allows circumstance to command their direction, while the person who treats them as tests learns to command their response. Failure is not a verdict on ability, it is feedback on method. It teaches what does not work so that understanding can move closer to what does. Without failure, effort remains shallow and knowledge remains limited. A smooth road produces weak legs, but a rough road produces strength. The mind, like the body, grows through strain. When challenges are faced with reflection instead of resentment, they sharpen perception and deepen resolve. Obstacles also expose hidden resource within the self. Under pressure, unused abilities awaken because necessity demands expression. Courage is rarely discovered in comfort. It is revealed in resistance. Every setback introduces a moment of choice between self-pity and self-command. The decision to continue converts loss into instruction. A temporary defeat becomes permanent only when the will accepts it as final. Persistence transforms misfortune into material for growth. Those who achieve do not avoid difficulty. They interpret it differently. They see barriers as training grounds rather than graveyards of hope. Each failure refines strategy and strengthens patience. The mind learns endurance by refusing to quit when reward is delayed. Delay itself is a form of discipline, teaching the will to remain loyal to purpose even when evidence of success is invisible. Obstacles also separate intention from illusion. Many desire achievement until effort is required. When effort is demanded, desire is measured. The test is not meant to punish, but to reveal the quality of commitment. Resistance uncovers whether the goal is a passing thought or a chosen destiny. Through repeated trials, fear loses its authority and confidence gains substance. Confidence built without struggle is fragile, but confidence built through resistance is stable. Each conquered difficulty leaves behind a residue of belief that strengthens future action. The mind begins to associate hardship with progress instead of defeat. This association changes emotional response to challenge. Instead of shrinking from difficulty, the individual leans toward it with curiosity and strategy. Failure also dissolves pride and replaces it with humility, which is the foundation of learning. Pride demands immediate success, but humility accepts the process of improvement. Obstacles force the individual to become more than they were, and becoming more is the true meaning of advancement. Every successful life contains a record of defeats that were converted into direction. The value of an obstacle lies not in its form, but in the meaning assigned to it. When meaning is constructive, experience becomes fuel. A tested will develops clarity, and clarity strengthens intention. Through this cycle, effort becomes wiser and patience becomes deeper. The person who understands this principle no longer asks why difficulty exists, but asks how it can be used. Struggle becomes a partner rather than an enemy. The road to achievement is not cleared of stones. It is learned by walking over them. Each step taken in the face of resistance increases the mind's capacity to endure and the heart's capacity to believe. In this way, obstacles do not block the path, they shape the traveler. The discipline of thought is the foundation upon which every form of achievement is built, because action always follows the direction of the mind. A person does not rise above the quality of their dominant thinking. If thoughts are loose, scattered, and negative, actions will reflect the same disorder. But when thoughts are controlled, chosen, and guided by purpose, actions become organized and effective. The mind is the workshop of success, and discipline is the tool that shapes raw ideas into useful plans. To think with discipline means to reject useless fears and replace them with constructive intentions. It means to refuse the habit of dwelling on weakness and to cultivate the habit of focusing on improvement. The undisciplined mind reacts to circumstances, but the disciplined mind directs them. Reaction produces emotional effort, while direction produces intelligent effort. Intelligent effort multiplies results because it is guided by reason instead of impulse. Thought discipline begins with awareness, the ability to observe one's own mental habits. And, quote, Steindem, when a thought does not serve progress, it must be challenged. When a belief limits growth, it must be replaced. This inner work may not be visible, but it governs everything that becomes visible. A person who learns to command their thinking learns to command their behavior. Behavior repeated becomes habit, and habit becomes character. Character determines the level of responsibility and opportunity one can carry. Discipline of thought also builds emotional control. Instead of allowing anger, fear, or doubt to dominate decisions, the disciplined thinker chooses patience, confidence, and purpose. Emotions are powerful forces, but without guidance, they become obstacles. Guided by disciplined thought, they become energy for action. The mind that expects progress looks for solutions, while the mind that expects defeat finds excuses. Expectation shapes perception. What the mind consistently pictures, the body moves toward. When thoughts are aligned with achievement, effort gains direction and resistance loses influence. Discipline in thinking also creates consistency in action. Consistency is not a result of willpower alone. It is the outcome of repeated mental agreement with a goal. Each time the mind affirms a purpose, it strengthens the pathway that leads to disciplined behavior. Doubt weakens that pathway, but faith reinforces it. Faith in this sense is not blind belief. It is a mental decision to act as though progress is possible. The disciplined thinker does not wait for mood to determine movement. They move according to intention, and intention shapes mood. Over time, this relationship reverses the natural order of impulse and replaces it with the order of purpose. The disciplined mind plans before it acts and reflects after it acts. Reflection turns experience into instruction. Instruction turns effort into improvement. Through this cycle, achievement becomes systematic instead of accidental. Discipline of thought also sharpens concentration. It teaches the mind to hold attention on a single objective without wandering. Concentration gathers scattered energy and turns it into force. A focused mind can do in 1 hour what an unfocused mind struggles to do in a day. Achievement is not the result of many directions, but of one direction followed steadily. The mind that learns to think with order produces actions that carry order. Order creates efficiency, and efficiency produces progress. When thinking is trained to seek growth, the body is trained to follow growth. The inner command becomes stronger than external pressure. The person is no longer driven by circumstances, but by convictions. Through this process, thought becomes the architect and action becomes the builder. What is built in the mind is constructed in life. Discipline of thought is therefore not a restriction, but a liberation from chaos. It frees effort from confusion and guides it toward purpose. In this way, achievement is not an accident of luck, but the natural outcome of mental order. Persistence is the cornerstone of every lasting success because the world rewards those who refuse to quit when the path becomes difficult. Many people begin with enthusiasm, but enthusiasm fades quickly when obstacles appear or results take time to show. Persistence is the force that carries the individual beyond temporary setbacks and keeps the mind and body aligned with purpose. It is not blind stubbornness, but a deliberate commitment to continue despite delay, difficulty, or failure. The persistent person understands that progress is rarely linear. It is a series of small steps, each building on the last, often unseen until accumulated. They measure success not by immediate results, but by unwavering movement in the direction of their goal. Persistence trains the M. In to resist distraction and discouragement. The moment frustration tempts retreat, persistence whispers, keep moving. It converts challenges into lessons and resistance into fuel. Each time the individual chooses action over surrender, the subconscious mind accepts persistence as a habit, and habit shapes character. Character, in turn, shapes destiny. Without persistence, talent remains dormant and knowledge remains theoretical. With persistence, ordinary abilities are multiplied, and ordinary knowledge becomes practical wisdom. Persistence also strengthens confidence because repeated effort produces proof. Proof of ability is far more powerful than hope or encouragement from others. The person who persists discovers their own strength, and that internal authority drives further action. Many give up just before a breakthrough because they measure progress in moments instead of over time. Persistence teaches patience. It shows that results are often delayed not because the goal is impossible, but because preparation must occur. Every obstacle endured, every failure faced, and every difficulty overcome strengthens the will to continue. Persistence develops resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks and maintain focus on the target. The resilient mind is not shaken by temporary defeat because it knows that success is earned over a sequence of efforts rather than a single attempt. Persistence also fosters creativity because repeated attempts illuminate new strategies and reveal solutions that were hidden to the uncommitted. When the mind refuses to accept impossibility, it begins to generate opportunity. Obstacles no longer appear as walls, but as puzzles to be solved. The persistent individual transforms resistance into advantage by learning, adapting, and applying lessons. Immediately, persistence creates momentum, and momentum is the force that carries the individual past moments of fatigue, doubt, or fear. Each step forward makes the next step easier because the mind has accepted. Movement is natural. The habit of persistence changes identity. The person begins to see themselves as capable, as someone who does not quit, as someone who finishes what they start. Identity shapes choices, and choices shape results. Persistence also cultivates faith, not in luck or chance, but in the reliability of effort. The person who persists trusts that action taken consistently in alignment with purpose will eventually produce the desired outcome. This faith is steady and unshakable because it is proven repeatedly through lived experience. Temporary discomfort, obstacles, or delays no longer dictate the direction of effort because the inner command of persistence dominates. Through persistence, ordinary individuals achieve extraordinary results. It transforms ordinary plans into lasting accomplishments, weak beginnings into strong finishes, and fleeting motivation into sustainable achievement. Persistence is therefore not optional for those who desire success. It is the law by which effort is converted into results. Each act of perseverance is a deposit into the account of achievement, and the balance grows only through continual, disciplined, and focused action. Those who understand this principle no longer wait for conditions to be perfect or for luck to intervene. They act consistently, adapt when necessary, and continue forward without hesitation. Persistence is the quiet force that outlasts talent, overcomes circumstance, and turns intent